This is your Lead Left podcast for the week of October 30th. I'm Randy Schwimmer. Welcome back. Since Labor Day, we've spent considerable time at conferences and with investors. Nothing focuses the mind better. And what we found is a disconnect between perception and reality. Take the economy. Beginning a year ago, there was a growing worry that higher rates were going to plunge the U.S. into a recession. Anyone calling for a soft landing, as we did, was told how rare and unlikely such an event was. Bloomberg's market survey of economists showed expected growth for the third quarter deteriorating, then bottoming at negative 1.5% this past April. But as employment numbers strengthened and consumers continued to spend, opinions reversed. Predicted third quarter GDP rose each month to over 4%, culminating last week with news that the U.S. economy in the third quarter grew by almost 5%. And to further flout received wisdom, lo and behold, core inflation came in at 2.4% for the third quarter, close to the Fed's target. Analysts rushed to caution that growth would slow from here, bottoming to near zero in the first quarter of 24. But those doubtless some of the same analysts who called for a slowdown for the quarter just passed. Similarly, news on credit quality has defied warnings from rating agencies and investment banks. Despite B of A Global Research predicting private debt defaults could reach 5% next year, worse than the 3% for broadly syndicated loans, Proskauer's default index actually fell from 2.1 in the first quarter to 1.6 in the second and 1.4 in the third. KBRA's Van Hesser publishes an excellent podcast, 3 Things in Credit. Last week's installment covered corporate earnings, the Fed's financial stability report, and default outlook. In it, Hesser said 6 of the S&P's 500's 11 industry sectors had lower earnings so far this year. But for the first quarter of 24, only 3 are expected to be negative. Looking at public credit defaults, their analyst Eric Rosenthal centered on high-profile troubled issuers such as Rite Aid and WeWork. He said default projections for 23 remained on track, 3.25% for bonds, 4.5% for loans. Large defaulters can shift the percentages, he reported. For 24, he expects similar numbers, 3.5% for bonds and 4% for loans, with rates peaking in 25. Could defaults reach 5%? Hard to see, they reported. With the broadly syndicated loan index at $1.5 trillion, 5% would translate to $75 billion in defaulted loans. That's equal to the GFC peak. Their direct lending default estimate for next year is about 1.6%. As supporting evidence, they cited the small number of defaults year to date, 40, amid their index of 2,500 borrowers. Also, the small club of direct lenders are more willing to work with sponsors as they have substantial skin in the game as buy and hold underwriters. Finally, liquid loans trade, so various types of investors may have opposing agendas, especially when trouble arises. Reporting from the skin in the game room at the Lead Left, this is Randy Schwimmer, wishing you and your families a safe and healthy week.